Hey everyone, welcome back to Shaun Stevenson Books. I'm Shaun Stevenson, author of the Throne series, and today we are reviewing, a creepy book. Oh wow, this book was creepy. It is none other than Monsterious Book 2, The Snatcher of Raven Hollow by Matt McMann. This is the second book in the Monsterious series. The first book was Escape from Grimstone Manor, which I do have a review of up on the channel. And this book, I couldn't wait to read this after reading the first one, because the first book, Escape from Grimstone Manor, was so much fun, had such a tight plot, lots of action, great characters. It was just kind of everything you wanted in one of these sorts of Goosebumps throwback stories that's new in 2023 and 2024. This book came out in 2023, and there are books in the series coming out this year. One of them has already come out in January, and one of them is coming out in August 2024. But Monsterious, The Snatcher of Raven Hollow, is book 2, came out at the exact same time as Escape from Grimstone Manor. And, this book, the first book was fun in a macabre sort of way. Sort of like riding on the Haunted Mansion ride at Disneyland or Disney World, where it's not really ever that scary, but it's fun, macabre stuff like spider webs and graveyards kinds of things, skeletons, that kind of stuff. This book is actually scary with a legit twist at the end that I did not see coming, that was so creepy. Like on the creepy level of things that are just like, no, please don't. In fact, my experience while reading this book, when I read this, I was sitting in the living room of our house just reading and just getting through the end because I was excited about what was happening. There was a lot of action and things. And then I came to the very last chapter and I read it and I said, no, that's how this book ends? And I gasped out loud. And my wife called to me from the other room and said, Shaun, are you okay? And I said, yes, but I'm not okay with the ending of this book because it was so creepy and so scary. I'm actually really glad I did not read this at night because I think it would have bothered me a little bit. I read this during the day, so if you are a person who gets creeped out by things very easily, don't read this book at night because it probably will creep you out. This book was really creepy. Now, I do have to say, as I get into the plot here, I think that this book teeters on the edge of being very edgy for a kid's book. Why? I think it has to do with the plot. So the plot of this book is, in this town of Raven Hollow, you have a situation where babies are being stolen. They are disappearing from their nursery rooms in their houses during the night, which is a very intense, very real topic of something that does happen in the world. Obviously, in this world, there is a monster involved, but in the real world, there are other kinds of monsters involved in this. So I did find that kind of an interesting topic, and I think if you're a parent thinking about this book, I would suggest reading it first if your kid likes creepy books, just to make sure that your kid can handle some of the conversations that might come up out of this book. There is some discussion by some of the main characters as they are trying to figure out what's going on about different ways that babies are kidnapped in real life. So it definitely was a little bit edgy. I don't think it ever crossed a line in any way, but it was on the edgier side of a topic for a kid's book. So I think that was a very interesting thing that Matt McMann did to set up this second book in the series. Now, Teo and Logan are two kids living in the town of Raven Hollow, and they take it upon themselves to try and solve the mystery of what is happening in town as these babies are disappearing. And as they are thinking through all the different possibilities of what could have happened, they discover that there are quite a few monsters in mythology that are known for stealing babies. And so they go to investigate each one of these things to see, could this be it? Could this be it? And there are some great explorations of not only mythologies from different parts of the world that I had never heard of before, and so I was able to learn about them from this book, but what ends up being the creature is nothing you would guess, and it is a great, scary monster. I loved it. So, there are some twists, there are some turns. This book, just like the first one, has a lot of great twists and turns. There is not as much action in this book. This one, it's very interesting because it's a little more of a slow burn. It's a little more ominous. And I think part of that is you have chapters that are told from the point of view of the creature, which is a very interesting twist that made the creature not only more menacing, but I felt like more intelligent. It would be really easy to take a creature like this and just make it monstrous for monstrous reasons. So you have Logan and Teo, they are spending their summer break trying to solve this mystery, and there's a lot of time that passes in this book. Quite a few different moments of a week goes by, a few days go by. So it made it a little bit of a slower story, but never boring, ever. You're still super invested, and Matt McMann never lets up on the mystery side of the story. I did find it an interesting difference in the writing style and not making it as fast-paced as the first book. Now, it is like the first book. There's not a lot of text on a page, so it comes very quick. It's quick, short chapters that just move along really quickly. So you do feel like you're flying through this book pretty fast. I will say too, there are some super creepy moments in the middle of this book where I sat there and I thought, no, I don't want to think about that. That sounds too scary to me. So I definitely was creeped out multiple times by this book. I will say, Logan as a character is very interesting because he is representing the Scully of Teo and Logan's Mulder and Scully. So I feel like this book is sort of channeling the X-Files a little bit because Logan and Teo really are like Mulder and Scully from that show. If you've never seen the X-Files, just really briefly, Mulder is often the one who believes in all the different supernatural things that are happening, and Scully is the scientist who does not believe in any of those things. And so in this book, you have Logan, who is like the Scully, and Teo, who is like the Mulder. Teo is driven. She wants to find out what's going on. She wants to believe in these monsters because she thinks it's the only explanation. And Logan is much more like Scully, thinking, no, there has to be a logical explanation for this. This can't be what it is. We have to just figure it out. And so they come at this from very different points of view. And I do think there's an interesting commentary in this book on belief. And what do you believe if your friend tells you something? Do you believe them or do you not? Do you go along with your friend because they believe there could be a monster out there? Or do you humor them or do you tell them they're wrong? How do you treat belief systems? Because really, I think that is the like layer behind this book that actually I think elevates it a little bit above Escape from Grimstone Manor. Escape from Grimstone Manor was much more of a just fun, action, scary romp, and this one has some layers to it that are happening here. So you have, like I said, the layer of these kids who are in the midst of trying to decide what do they believe. So Teo and Logan are like Mulder and Scully, and I think it sets up this just interesting dichotomy between belief in something that is outside of what we would normally think of and something that is not real or scientifically approached. It doesn't seem like it's plausible. So I think that was a great exploration throughout this book, and I don't know if it was intended. I would be super curious to know if Matt McMann kind of intended that conversation throughout this as kind of the subtle background to what is happening. I don't think it never takes over the story. It doesn't bog it down with philosophical conversations. It is in the background of what is happening in this book. So all said, The Snatcher of Raven Hollow was another great entry in the Monsterious series, and I can't wait to read book 3 and 4. I am super excited to see what happens in those, because so far this series has been great. This is exactly, again, I think it brings the style of Goosebumps up to 2023, and it really makes it something that is a real throwback for those of us who read Goosebumps as a kid or, read those kinds of 90s books, but it fits so well as well with the current modern day middle grade audience. So I think that is just such a masterful job that Matt McMann has done. So at the end of the day, I would give The Snatcher at Raven Hollow 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a tiny bit of a slow burn, but not in ever a boring way. Just a tiny bit, which I don't know if I always absolutely love slow burns, but they are also really good. So, because sometimes that ominous feeling that just builds was so great. Plus the scares here were so good. That twist ending was great. The characters are wonderful. Just also that topic was a little bit on the edge, like I said, for I think a middle grade book. But overall, Matt McMann makes this one come together in such a great way. Cannot recommend it enough. Definitely check this one out. So, have you read any of the Monsterious books? Have you read any other books that are in this kind of vein that are newer? Let me know down in the comments below because I would love to discover them. And that's all for now. So until next time, everybody, keep reading. Bye.